Hare Krishna, all devotees. So today we are reading from Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 1, slokas number 10 and 11. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we have seen so far how Duryodhana is now addressing the army that he is apparently leading. We have seen how he addresses his teacher, Dronacharya, and then he recognizes some of the prominent warriors on his side of the army. Correct? So we saw all of that from verse 3 onwards. And now in verse 10 and 11, Duryodhana is actually doing a comparative analysis. Okay. So as a warrior, before the war begins, he is not only diplomatically motivating his army, he is also doing a comparison of his own army versus the opposition, and he is sharing this analysis with his army in order to motivate them. Okay, so let us read this shloka number 10. Aparyaptam tadasmakam Aparyaptam tadasmakam Balam bhishmabhirakshitam Balam bhishmabhirakshitam Paryaptam tvidametesham Paryaptam tvidametesham Balam bhimabhirakshitam Balam bhimabhirakshitam. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by Grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Okay. So, as we saw earlier, Duryodhana here is addressing his Kaurava army. As a leader, he is giving them a motivational speech. Okay, so by doing this comparative study, Duryodhana is saying that the strength of our Kaurava army is immeasurable. Okay, aparyaptam. Aparyaptam means immeasurable, but the strength of the Pandava army is limited. Paryaptam, or limited. Okay, so why is the strength of the Kaurava army unlimited? Duryodhana says here, Bhishmabhirakshitam, because the army is protected by Bhishma. And who is Bhishma? Bhishma is the oldest and most experienced general in the entire army. And because he is protecting the Kaurava army, it is aparyaptam. Their strength has become immeasurable. And on the other hand, why is the strength of the Pandavas limited? Because that army is protected only by Bhima. Okay, Bhima is the second eldest Pandava, and he was very strong, and he was also a devotee of the Lord. But Duryodhana was envious of Bhima because Bhima was stronger than him, and Duryodhana also knew, okay, that someday if he were to die, he would die in the hands of Bhima. Okay, so because of that, Duryodhana was envious of Bhima. You can see that he constantly picks on Bhima, even in the initial verses, right? So why not say Yudhishthira, Arjuna? Why is he saying Bhima? Because he always had perceived Bhima to be his enemy, and he was always conscious of that fact. Bhima, Bhima, Bhima. Okay, he knew that someday he would die in the hands of Bhima, yet He's assuring himself. He's trying to get rid of his fear by saying that our army is very well protected by Bhishma, who is actually even more powerful than Bhima. Okay, so he had confidence somehow that he will win because of the power of Bhishma. Now that he has praised Bhishma very nicely, he has also praised in the previous verses, the other prominent warriors or generals in the war. Now, what will the other? Now, he has praised all of the top notch warriors. If we see in the previous verse and this verse, he has praised all of the top notch warriors. Now, he has to also motivate the lower range in the army phalanx. Correct? So, what does he do to motivate the lower range of the army phalanx? He has to glorify them as well. Right? So, let us see in sloka number 11 now. So, we will move to the next screen. Okay. अयनेषु च सर्वेषु अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागम् अवस्थितः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि भवन्तः सर्व एव हि. Translation: all of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Okay, so after glorifying Bhishma, the lowest range of the army should not think that, okay, Duryodhana has not given us any importance. So, in order to motivate all of them, which were very large in number, he said that in a very diplomatic way, he says that yes, Bhishma is there and Bhishma is very powerful, but he is an old man. That is what Duryodhana is trying to emphasize here. Bhishma is an old man. So, because of that, all of you here, all you army generals here, all of you are very important because you are responsible for his protection from all sides. Because Bhishma is one person standing in one position and he may be an Athirati. What is an Athirati? A general or a warrior who can fight with 60,000 opponents at a time is called an Athirati. So Bhishma was an Athirati. Okay, the highest level of a warrior. So he is an Athirati and he's very powerful, but he can only face one direction at a time. And while he is facing one direction and defeating all opponents in that one direction, all of you have to be strategically placed, and you have to be alert in your respective positions of the army phalanx so that Bhishma Dev is protected very nicely. No one should try to attack him from multiple other sides other than what he is facing. So hence all of your position is also very, very important in this war. So very diplomatically, Duryodhana is giving a motivational speech to everyone, all levels of his army. Okay, so it's important, right, that they do not leave their strategic positions, because otherwise the phalanx will break, and when the phalanx breaks, the opponent can enter and kill the important generals or warriors of the army. So that's why even the borderline generals are very, very important. Now, Duryodhana, we can see from these two verses that he is very clear that his victory strongly depends on the presence of Bhishma Dev in his army. Okay, Bhishma Dev is very, very experienced. And Duryodhana is now quite confident that Bhishma will protect the army and that Bhishma will fight to his best ability. Okay, he's quite confident of that. Why is he confident of that? Why is he confident of Bhishma and Drona's support? Can someone tell us by unmuting? How did he get that confidence of Bhishma and Drona's support? Because we know that Bhishma and Drona very much favor the Pandavas, right?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prema
Can I
Mahima.
try?
Sure,
Duryodhan
yes.
was confident of Bhishma and Dronacharya because during the assembly of the Kauravas, while they were disturbing Draupadi, both of them did not say anything. And he
Yes.
knew that these two were always on his side.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Mataji. So, Mataji shared a very valid point with us that during the Draupadi Vastra Harana, right, when Dushashan was very evilly and very crudely trying to disrobe Draupadi, Draupadi was actually pleading for help. First, she was pleading for help from everyone present there, especially from Drona and Bhishma, because she saw and recognized them as the eldest in that assembly. So she was pleading for their help, but they simply hung their heads low without voicing out for justice. And Duryodhana observed that although she was specifically pleading to them, they ignored her. So that's why Duryodhana became more confident that here also Drona and Bhishma will support him. All right. But of course, he also knew that they had a lot of affinity for the Pandavas. So, in order to try and get rid of that little affinity that they had, he was trying to glorify them so that their side towards him will become softer. So, Duryodhana is very, very diplomatic. Okay, he is trying to get rid of the at least little affection that they had towards the Pandavas so that they would fully support him. Okay, so this is a sequence of events so far, and we can see how Duryodhana has come. He has addressed his army. He is giving them a motivational speech, and in the verses to come, in the days to come, let us see what will happen next. The story is unfolding, the war is unfolding, and Lord Krishna is about to give us the most valuable lessons. So let us stay tuned tomorrow to hear more. So thank you all very much for joining us today. We hope you have a blissful day ahead. Thank you. Hare Krishna.